Improvement Commission hearing of November 1st, 2018. Our first item is the acceptance of the minutes. Upon request by the Public Improvement Commission or PIC staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on October 18th, 2018. Any corrections or comments anyone has on the minutes from the previous PIC meeting? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the PIC hearing held on October 18th.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes. Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Moving on to the public hearing, our first item is on a petition by TA Realty LLC for the making of specific repairs within Boylston Street, Boston proper, located on its northwesterly side at address number 855, generally between Fairfield Street and Gloucester Street, consisting of curb, sidewalk, and tree pit reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavement and bike racks. This was new business on October 4th, 2018. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, 855 Boylston Street, Public Way, Back Bay, 2 sheets dated September 26th, 2018.
Good morning. My name is John Schmidt with Niche Engineering, and on behalf of my client, TA Realty, we'd like to request an extension until December 6th.
Very good. Any questions or comments for John?
Is everything okay? Is it to get the variance? Or?
I'm not part of it.
I mean, because I know your team has worked with Zach Bosman to sort things out.
They're doing good with Zach as far as aligning the standards.
All right. Members of the public? All right. I'll entertain a motion to continue this until December 6th. Thank you. December 6th.
Thank you.
I will make a motion on item PH1 to continue until the next meeting on December 6th. 2 meetings. I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is on a joint petition by Mr. Frankie Sorrenti Jr., Ms. Gail P. Sorrenti, and Andy Town Properties for the vertical discontinuance of portions of the following public ways in South Boston, vertically above the grades of the sidewalk: West Broadway on its northeasterly side at address number 480-482, northwest of Dorchester Street, and Dorchester Street on its northwesterly side, northeast of Broadway. This was new business on October 4th, 2018, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Discontinuance Plan, 480-482, West Broadway, Dorchester Street, South Boston, 2 sheets dated September 25th, 2018.
Hi, I'm Jay Carroll with Howard Stein Hudson. With me is Doug Stefanov of Stefanov Architects, and Guy Buser of Howard Stein Hudson is also behind me. And we're representing Frank and Gail Sorrenti and also Joe Taylor of Anytown Properties. The project is at 480 West Broadway at the intersection of West Broadway and Dorchester Street in South Boston. The proposed development is going to be a 5-story mixed-use building, 18 residential units, about 4,000 square feet of commercial ground space, 21 below-grade parking spaces, which will be accessed off Dorchester Street. And so we could want to talk about the discontinuance first.
That'd be great. Yeah. And I guess we're going to do this with both the discontinuance and repairs, but we can talk a little bit to some of the issues which were raised in the previous hearing about proximity of the traffic poles and the traffic management issues.
Yep. So we had a meeting with BTD last week to go over some of those concerns.
Excuse me, sir, could you be specific as to with whom you had those meetings with the transportation department? With whom did you have?
Yeah. So we had it with Ed Hesford, Pat Hoey, Keith, Burnham from BTD from the traffic signals. So we met with them to go over the proximity of that mast arm to the building. We went through the preliminary CMP that we had in progress and the garage access. So we went over those issues and concerns, and at the end of that meeting, I think Ed had a good feeling as to.
Recognizing that this is a public record and the testimony which you give is to be fair and accurate to the best of your recollection, were you at the meeting, sir?
I was, yes.
You were. So to the best of your recollection, how would you characterize the conclusions of that meeting with the transportation department?
The meeting went well and was productive, and I think they had a good feeling as to what we were going forward with the construction management plan and getting temporary access pedestrians around the building as well. So.
If I can, I was present as well, and I would concur.
You can go through the vertical discontinuances, the first item on the agenda.
Yep, so we have the vertical discontinuance is we have a roof cornice, we have the building facade, and we also have some entrance canopy that will be overhanging the property. The building facade, which I have a section of. So the roof cornice is really what overhangs the property the furthest. The building facade, which I think the concern of that with that mast arm location, so we're about, the surveyed mast arm, we're about 5.5 feet from that pole. And then the entrance canopy at the corner.
The furthest extension of the building will be still 5.5 feet from the closest point to the mast arm of the traffic signal. Is
Yes.
that right? Right. Okay. Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
So the roof cornice, that'll wrap around the entire building, but the building facade overhang is really just at the corner where it rounds around where the property line is more of a tangent.
Sarah located the pitch point? Because what is not clear is the proximity of the pole, the handicap ramp, and and access.
So where the building gets that close is not at sidewalk level, it's.
Second floor level.
The building is
Starts.
overhanging, correct, yeah. So the entrance is set much further back.
Actually behind the property line.
This plan view here, so here's the building at the ground level.
On that plans, where is the traffic signal mast arm?
The traffic signal is right here.
And your ramps are?
The ramp is at the transition point of the ramp.
So you have to put a pole.
Sarah Leong, Disabilities Commission. I think we just wanted to clarify where the mast arm is in relationship to the level landing.
Okay, we're not in the mast arm's not in the level landing.
So you have located the mast arm that doesn't conflict with any of the ADA regulations?
Correct, yes.
And this is Guy Busaharis. So we're not proposing to move the mast arm at all, nor are we proposing to change the
It's an
accessibility
existing
ramp.
mast arm?
Correct, yes.
Correct,
The building's coming out towards the mast arm's not moving.
correct.
Before we get into specific repairs, any other questions or comments about the vertical discontinuance? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, we'll entertain a motion on the vertical discontinuance.
I'll make a motion on a joint petition by Mr. Frankie Sorrenti Jr., Scale P. Sorrenti, and Andy Town Properties for a vertical discontinuance in West Broadway and Dorchester Street, as read into the record by the chair. And shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Discontinuance Plan, 480 to 482 West Broadway, Dorchester Street, South Boston. 2 sheets dated September 25th, 2018. I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item. On a joint petition by Mr. Frankie Sorrenti Jr., Ms. Gail P. Sorrenti, and Andy Town Properties for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in South Boston, consisting of curb, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavements, street trees, bike racks, and driveway curb cuts. Locations are West Broadway on its northeasterly side at address number 480-482 northwest of Dorchester Street, and Dorchester Street on its northwesterly side northeast of West Broadway. This was new business on October 4th, 2018, and this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan 480-482 West Broadway, Dorchester Street, South Boston, 1 sheet dated September 25th, 2018.
So for the specific repairs, we're proposing to reconstruct the sidewalks around the perimeter of the property, the development. Starting on West Broadway, we'll have 2 proposed trees within some pervious paving. We'll have reconstructing 2 handicap ramps, and also along as we get to Dorchester Street, we'll be modifying the existing curb cut to align with the garage entry of the new building.
I'm sure this came up in the conversation with BTD, but can you just walk us through how you envision the driveway operation working and how that will conflict with moves on Dorchester Street?
I'll let Guy Busa talk.
Guy Busa, Howard Stein Hudson. Now, I was not at that particular meeting, but, Doug and Jay can correct me if I'm wrong, but that driveway is serving 21 parking spaces. It's an alternating flow driveway. Because it's residential, it's very limited traffic. So what was discussed at the meeting with BTD was some modifications to some curb use, in particular a parking spot that's towards the intersection from the site. And possibly some other changes along Dorchester Street to improve operations, particularly in the PM peak hour. Better than what's today, actually. That driveway is also a smaller curb cut than what's out there today. I believe there are 6 parking spaces, is that correct? On a 24-foot, 22-foot curb cut. And BTD was comfortable with this solution.
So the intent is to basically continue to work with BTD to refine that plan?
Yes,
Great.
correct. Yes, so for example, any changes in curb use will end up with a signing and marking plan for that purpose.
Where's the loading for the ground floor retail?
So ground floor retail on this type of property would be somewhere as they are along West Broadway, curbside. There's no proposed loading zone for this property. It's a small project review. That was also discussed at the BTD meeting, actually.
Amy, so do you have some idea as to what type of a commercial use you will have on the ground floor?
The use is not determined, but it's not proposed to be a restaurant. So it's a,
Anything that would require short-term drop-off and pick-up, whether it's a bank teller, bank?
we have no indication of retail. It's one generic space that could be broken up, but it's geared for retail.
I mean, we do find that local retail, which is what this is intended for, doesn't get large deliveries, doesn't get lots of deliveries. It's much more almost of a package delivery service, a UPS, and they restock their shelves that way. They don't have any kind of back storage space or warehouse.
Like a bank would be perfect.
It's fairly typical of local retail.
I think what we're trying to avoid is a situation where people are just pulling up their cars to run in and clogging up the intersection. So if we envision a use that would dictate that type of behavior, we need to account for how to mitigate that.
Yeah, if that's the case, we could seek some pickup drop-off from the BTD.
Guy, be sensitive, because what Mr. Nelson is saying is, case in point recently at Upham's Corner, there's a Santander bank, and when cars, and there's a teller, bank teller machine there, and when cars illegally park there, it compounds the traffic circulation, then very awkward things happen. We don't want to.
This is a problematic Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
Really what
Well,
we're trying to avoid rebooting.
Okay.
actually, it will never be as bad as Dunkin' Donuts. So, how's that for an answer? How's that for an answer?
Let's set the standards to where we need them to be.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Right. Understood. Good point, Amy.
Other questions or comments about the power plan?
I appreciate the addition of a defined furniture and planting zone with the pervious pavers. So I think we're all aware, Broadway acts as essentially a main street feel for South Boston. And I would like to see this type of sidewalk treatment proliferated through that main street. Not only does it clearly define the furnishing planter zone, it gives us that pervious stormwater treatment and promotes the street trees. And I would like to see that proliferated throughout West Broadway. So using this corner as a very high visual impact anchor for that is greatly appreciated. So thank you for being responsive to that comment.
Thank you.
How different is the design standard that we're using here, to Mike's point, than other places on West Broadway?
We'd have to check, because we just did the one that's Neil Theater, that's not that far from this, and we'll go back and check out what they're specific.
I actually can speak. I have a couple other projects on West Broadway, and we're doing the same thing. We're doing the pervious paver strips, working closely with BPDA on trees, furniture, bike hookups. No, it's consistent.
Good.
Excellent.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? I'll entertain a motion on the specific repair plan.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by, Frank E. Sorrenti Jr., Mrs. Gail P. Sorrenti, and Andy Town Properties for the making of specific repairs in West Broadway and Dorchester Street, as read into the record by the chair, and is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, specific repair plan, 480 through 482 West Broadway, Dorchester Street, South Boston, one sheet dated September 25th, 2018.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is on a petition by DIV Shaman LLC for the acceptance of 2 pedestrian easements adjacent to Herald Street, Boston proper, located on its southerly side east of Shaman Avenue. This was new business on October 18th, 2018. And this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Herald Street, 112 Shaman Avenue, South End, one sheet dated October 10th, 2018.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Rebecca Lee. I'm with MINS. To my left is Rick Latini from Howard Stein Hudson Associates. We're here for approval of 2 tiny easements, pedestrian easements, to allow the the installation, of 2 street trees on Herald Street at the specific request of the South End Landmark District Commission and approved by the Parks Commission and all other city agencies that reviewed this matter.
Rick Latini, I'll take questions, but it's an 8-inch wide pedestrian easement because there's an 8-foot wide sidewalk to get the 5-foot pedestrian path with the trees. So any questions, I'll take them. So.
Questions or comments?
Same comment on the furnishing zone. I think it's a great improvement to this stretch of roadway. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Amir Todd? Members of the public? All right. I'll entertain a motion on the pedestrian easements.
I'll make a motion that we approve the petition presented by DIV Shaman LLC for the acceptance of 2 pedestrian easements adjacent to Herald Street in Boston proper, as read into the record by the chair, and shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Herald Street, 112 Shaman Ave, South End, one sheet dated October 10th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a joint petition by New 125 Amory Street LLC and the Boston Housing Authority for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Amory Street in Roxbury, located on its northwesterly side at address number 125, generally between Atherton Street and Dimmick Street. This was new business on October 18th, 2018. And this is as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Amory Street, Boston, one sheet dated October 9th, 2018. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Noah Sawyer. I'm a project manager with the Community Builders. We are working with the Boston Housing Authority on the 125 Amory Street Apartments project. The specific piece that's in front of you today is related to the renovation of apartments for 200 low-income seniors that live in the Amory Street Apartments building. The project is part of a larger master plan, of which this is the first phase. Expect to start construction before the end of this year, and specifically involves renovating and improving the sidewalk in front of the existing Amory Street Apartments building. The other changes that go along with this master plan will be coming in front of the commission as part of a separate petition, and we'll be happy to talk about those in more detail then, and shouldn't affect anything regarding the approvals for this piece.
To introduce myself, I'm Dean Papadimicio, counsel for the Boston Housing Authority, and we're very excited about this project because there currently is an elderly disabled building on the property that is in need of major renovations, and this is a way that we're going to be able to do that and maintain the existing units, but also add a few additional units as part of the project.
Good morning, John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. The plan before you is the master plan, and we're speaking specifically to 125 Amory Street and the sidewalk in this area here. These future private ways, as we had indicated, will be coming before you in early 2019. Regarding the easement petition, it runs from the parcel line here to the parcel line here. It's a 5-foot wide easement, and this easement will allow for an 8-foot wide concrete accessible sidewalk, as well as a 6-foot wide pervious paver strip for furnishing zone.
John, can you please is good then. So it is great. We are appreciative of the fact that you are widening the sidewalk because Amory Street is challenged as it is. Are you going to carry that same vocabulary?
Yes.
Can you?
When we come back, we're going to bring this to the limits of our property and this to the limits of our property. So it'll be one continuous strip.
Other questions about the pedestrian easement plan? Amir Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the pedestrian easements.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by New 125 Emery Street LLC and Boston Housing Authority for the acceptance of pedestrian easement and adjacent to Emery Street, as read into the record by the chair and shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Emery Street, Boston, one sheet, dated October 9th, 2018.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is on a joint petition by New 125 Amory Street LLC and the Boston Housing Authority for the making of specific repairs within Amory Street in Roxbury, located on its northwesterly side at address number 125, generally between Atherton Street and Dimmock Street, and consisting of curb, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavements, street trees, bike racks, street lighting infrastructure, irrigation infrastructure, and storm drain infrastructure. This was new business on October 18th, 2018, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, 125 Amory Street, Public Way, Jamaica Plain, 3 sheets dated October 2018.
Members of the Commission, Noah Sawyer with Community Builders. We are the developer for new 125 Amory Street and are putting this plan forth to improve the front of this building and improve the accessibility for the residents.
Dean Papadimitriou, counsel to the Boston Housing Authority, and we are also in support of this. We're a petitioner and obviously in support of the petition.
John Schmidt with Niche Engineering. So this specific repair is within the limits of the pedestrian easement that was just approved. And as we indicated previously, when we come back in the future, we will extend the pedestrian easement as well as the sidewalk design to the limits of the project's property. We are proposing a 6-foot wide pervious furnishing zone, which will include bike racks, 5 new street trees, maintaining 2 existing trees, and 4 new street lights. And then beyond the 6-foot pervious pavers, we will have an 8-foot wide concrete sidewalk. We are maintaining a drop-off area here for the residents, and we are bringing the sidewalk, which is very old, up to code.
Dean, sorry, I was unable to give these comments when you came under new business. What I don't know is whether there are any bus lines that go on Amory Street, so I don't know the answer to that question. Assuming that there's a bus line, I don't know where the closest bus stop is. Now, if those two Venn diagrams come together where there is a bus stop within this footprint of your project, we appreciate the fact that you are widening the sidewalks. Considering the fact that this is elderly housing, it will be nice if the sidewalk is wide enough or your easement such where we, the city, can work with the MBTA to put a bus shelter to further enhance the experience of those who you are trying to serve. So, John, I know this is late in the game.
Sure, and I understand.
Can you please think
Yes.
through what I'm basically asking, i.e., is there a stop over here? And if it is for some magical reason, somewhere within this zone, and because earlier we were unable to do anything towards bus shelters simply because of the sidewalk width on Amory Street.
We'll explore the opportunity for a bus stop shelter, and then if it should, when we come back in January, we'll address it at that point.
Address it at that point. So at least within this your project footprint, you have a bus shelter to serve the elderly. It is for the elderly.
Yeah, this building is elderly disabled.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So they, as all of us, might be more vulnerable under opposite of fair weather conditions. Okay, so a shelter will be a prominent amenity.
Right. Okay, and I also want to note that it's very accessible to the Orange Line as well, which is just 2 blocks away, and so it's a great transportation connection there.
If there's a bus stop, at that, give consideration to adding that feature.
Can you talk about the irrigation infrastructure associated with the street trees?
Oh, sure. There are hydrants within this, and then the street trees are irrigated, and they'll be fed from the building. There'll be a backwater valve and all the appropriate requirements.
Okay. And there's an LMI for that?
The LMI is being worked out with the legal op.
Are you still in site plan or are you approved?
We are approved.
Other questions or comments on the specific repair plan? Amir Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the specific repair plan.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by New 125 Amory Street LLC and the Boston Housing Authority for the making of specific repairs within Amory Street. As read into the record by the chair and shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repairs Plan, 125 Amory Street, Public Way, Jamaica Plain, 3 sheets dated October 2018.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, our first item is 1000 Boylston Street, Cambria Street, Dalton Street, Scotia Street, St. Cecilia Street, Roxbury. Discontinuances and an earth retention license on a set of joint petitions by 1000 Boylston Street owner LLC, the Prudential Insurance Company of America, the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, and the Boston Planning and Development Agency.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michael Flannery from Goulston & Stores. I'm here on behalf of Weiner Ventures, the developer of the 1000 Boylston Street project. Want to quickly introduce the members of our team who are here with me today. To my right is Donnie Levine, the Executive Project Manager. Next to him is Maria Gorsica from Haley & Aldrich. We also have Kevin Lennon, our project architect from Elkis Manfredi Architects, as well as others here to answer questions if they come up. Just want to give a real brief overview of the project site because it's relevant to the discontinuances and the earth retention approvals that we're seeking. Our site is actually 4 parcels if you look at this board, including only about a quarter to a third of our site is terra firma and the rest is air rights. That includes air rights that span Cambria Street, as well as what's really the centerpiece of our parcel, which is MassDOT air rights parcel 15. And then you'll see at the corner of Dalton Street and Boylston Street is a parcel owned by the Prudential Insurance Company of America. This project is an opportunity to fill in this gap above the turnpike, including around that corner of Boylston and Dalton Street in a really exciting way. These actions, particularly the discontinuance actions, are a milestone for this project, so we're very excited to be here this morning. And I'd like to turn it over to Kevin Lennon, who's going to give you a brief overview of what the building looks like.
So, Mike gave you a brief overview of the site. What I want to show you is just how constrained the site is. There is some terra firma, but there's only really 3 main areas where we can locate structure on this. So this is a very constrained site that we're doing. So all of our structural elements have to happen here above, in between the highway, rail, and Cambria Street. So, this image here is a view of the project, an aerial view of the project. It's a mixed-use residential, has up to 108 condominium units in the residential tower, and a podium that consists of 2 levels of retail with parking above. And as Mike was saying, the site, the project infills this entire gap between Dalton Street and St. Cecilia Street. It's sort of about 250, 280-foot gap, decades-old sky in the city. So during our article reading process, we did several studies, wind analysis, pressure wind analysis, solar glare analysis. And out of those studies came some mitigation that we need to do for pedestrian range on Cambria. Actually, all the surrounding streets, along Dalton, along Boylston, along St. Cecilia, and along Scotia. So we had this wind canopy that we had to design to mitigate, to make it comfortable in condition on the side. We also had to introduce design in the parking facade to mitigate sort of shallow angle reflection to the sun. So we have these fins in the facade that they're also part of the vertical discontinuance. This is a view of a pedestrian view standing on Boylston Street, entry canopy for the condominiums,
Sorry, what street is that? That view?
This is Boylston Street.
That's Boylston, thank you.
You can see the firehouse
Got it.
on this side of the street here. So this is all new sidewalk that we're creating here. We're actually, this project, we're increasing the width of Boylston Street in this zone by about 8 feet, 8.5 feet. We have a 11.5 foot wide pedestrian walkway, a small frontage zone, and then a planting zone.
I'm sorry, sir, did you say you're widening the road surface area of Boylston?
The sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Yeah. By
Widening
virtue
onto
of
the,
holding the building back further than it is today from, like the sidewalk today.
Not going into the road, it's going
it's into their property.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But we're, so the, this might be a little difficult to see, but this diagram shows you, this red line shows you the existing curb line. We're maintaining the curb line along Boylston Street, but what we're doing is essentially pushing the building face about 8 feet back into the air rights development parcel. And that creates a 18-foot sidewalk along Boylston that has broken up with a 11.5-foot pedestrian zone, furniture zone, and a frontage zone. You see here the arrangement of the curb line. We're sort of extending it on the St. Cecilia side. And this is to actually make the pedestrian conditions better, but also to make sure our canopy is not over the roadway. We're sort of fully within the edges of the curb line. Okay. So quickly want to show you a few sections of the canopy, just so you can understand. So first diagram on the left is a section at Dalton Street. See the curb lines here. We're extending out 7'2". It's about an 8-foot curb dimension from the face of the building, so it's back behind the building. This dimension vertically is about 35 feet. So this canopy is about 35 feet above the sidewalk, and it's continuous on the Dalton and Boylston Street side, and then as St. Cecilia and Scotia, they both of those are sloping streets. They both are sloped down. So by the time we get back to Scotia Street, we're about 46 feet above the public sidewalk. On Cambria Street, the overbuild portion of Cambria Street, we have a sort of a line that we're setting for passage of fire trucks and other emergency vehicles. Also making sure that we can maintain all access for Heinz Auditorium to get the loading in there. That's what you see here. This is sort of the line, sort of demarcation line of this vertical discontinuous here. I think that's all I have for you.
Can you show
questions?
The Dalton Street? The Dalton Street discontinuances?
Dalton Street discontinuance. Might want to have some plans. Here's a section. It's a vertical discontinuance that we're requesting for the canopy extension across the property line, as well as these fins that are a part of the design of the building to mitigate the solar reflections. So this is what the request is in 3 dimensions, and that's the plan.
You have 2 discontinuances on Dalton Street. One that is about a foot going further up, but it's the longer one,
6.5
the 6, because I have to build a bridge over there, and I need to make sure that the construction vehicles can get in and do their work without being impeded in a vertical space. So when we met initially, you gave me assurances that your work will not impact our ability to build the bridge. So I'm saying this for the first time, and I need to give it the consideration it needs to have, because when we take that spot off the sidewalk, I don't have vertical access. Okay.
The mitigation was brought up during the Article 80 process, so it wasn't something that we incorporated into the project. It was something that came up from a mitigation perspective, and that fin is currently over about a foot.
Yeah,
over
it's not a fin.
Yep.
That 1 foot is not going to make or break our ability. It is this, the canopy.
Canopy is about 30 feet above grade along Dalton Street.
Okay.
And how far does it project, Mark?
6 feet.
6 feet.
Okay.
Over the full length of the sidewalk. Okay. So that could be not could, may be a situation.
We're happy to talk about the vertical discontinuances more. I want to note, we also have subsurface discontinuances on these streets, which Maria Gorsica is able to speak to and present to the commission.
The first board up there, hi, Maria Gorsica, Haley and Aldrich. The first board is not included in your package, but your package does include several drawings indicating the limits of the requested subsurface discontinuances. Those discontinuances are for portions of the substructure for the new buildings, specifically concrete, grade beams, pile caps. No portions of the piles extend into the public way. On two sides of the site, Dalton Street and Boylston Street, those discontinuances are at or below turnpike level because the grade there is turnpike grade where the foundations will be installed. So there's no impact to the bridges from those discontinuances.
Excuse me, Maria. So you say that it is at the turnpike surface level,
Yes.
correct? Okay, so the bridge abutment walls, goes below the surface level.
Correct.
So
These are outside the limits of the bridge abutment. And they're small little protrusions of an end of a pile cap that just happen to fall underneath the bridge line.
Do you mind walking us through particularly on the Dalton Street side? Do you mind just walking us through where?
Here, there's a triangle here, which is tiny, 2 feet by 31/100ths of a foot, and then
That's the one that is. Because you have not overlaid my bridge abutment walls over there for me to make a constructive comment in this forum. So
It is not shown on the discontinuance drawing.
Okay, so therefore I cannot talk intelligently or even sub-intelligently on that front.
Okay.
So it is a concern.
Okay.
On the board below that, if you take a look, what is the diagonal red line there? Are those tiebacks?
So that's an architectural drawing along Cambria Street. To the left is the Scotia parcel, and it's intended to show the range and depth of the substructure along Cambria Street, because Cambria Street starts high and then goes down to the loading dock at Heinz Auditorium, so the grade changes. And there are tie rods in the earth retention license below Cambria Street, but I don't know what that red line is, Mark.
It's just in this section here between this site and the terra firma site. It's essentially a tie rod as opposed to a tie back. They don't exist here.
How far do they extend?
Across the street.
All right, so you're going to span Cambria Street with some sort of foundation control device, tie rod, tie back.
So in the earth retention license, there's a tie rod below the street level that extends from the top of the earth retention on the north side of the street to the top of the earth retention on the south side of the street for the adjacent parcel.
It's up high.
It's high. It's above the tops of the utilities. And that's to anchor the earth retention along this side, where the street grade is high and the cut is deeper. It's shown on the sections for the earth retention license along the street.
Okay. I'll study that a little more, and I might give you comments on inspection, because at the moment I can't remember if we're just relaying that sewer.
We are, the sewer, we're relaying the sewer within the proposed building limit, so it would be new
Yeah,
there.
and then a little rehab a little further down.
New sewer line and a new drain.
Yep. So does that happen before the construction excavation? So are these new assets going to be in the ground when you start doing foundation work?
Question. The answer is yes. We plan to do that as for our first.
Utility work first, then foundation work?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're going to need to ensure that those brand new utilities are protected and that we don't put a tie rod through the middle of the sewer.
The enabling work includes investigations to locate as-built locations of the utilities in Cambria Street and relocate as needed so that they're not impacted by the construction.
Yep, and we will need post-construction inspection to make sure that all the assets are not damaged.
Yeah, the intention is to coordinate with all the utilities when that work is underway. So if I can continue with the subsurface discontinuances along Cambria Street, there is a discontinuance shown on your drawings all along this existing retaining wall that separates Cambria Street from the railroad tracks. And there are portions of the substructure that will protrude into the public way. They're shown in sections on your drawings, and they will be 6 feet below grade. So it's pretty much along the whole length of that street. Where on the other streets, there are these very small little protrusions that Public Works wants more information on the bridges. This extends all along Cambria Street. This is the street here, and this is the portion of the substructure that protrudes beyond the property line.
And that's the wall between the street and the road.
And what is the protrusion? Is it just like a concrete footing?
It's a pile cap. That whole wall, the earth retention is installed to allow the demolition and removal of that wall so that new foundations can be installed. They can come back up and build a new pile cap and a new retaining wall. So there's quite a bit of work that goes along here to restore that retaining wall and allow the new foundations to support the construction above.
Okay, and where does that fall in relation to the final condition of the sidewalk on that side of Cambria Street?
So as the street slopes, which is shown on this section, it's dropping as you move towards the east. The top of the substructure is maintained at 6 feet or greater below the street level.
But does it align with the sidewalk on Cambria Street closest to Boylston Street?
It's just behind the curb.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is I think there on the specific repair plan we're calling for some pervious pavers in one small section of the sidewalk on Cambria Street. So let's not infiltrate water directly onto the pile cap.
It's 12 feet or something, so.
Okay.
And the soil conditions are actually reasonably pervious, so we're just looking for the opportunity to just get something in the ground.
Okay.
You know, if we want to set a minimum, if it's less than 6 feet, we don't do it, we could do that.
I just want to be cognizant of the fact that if we're going to try to infiltrate water, how's it going to interact with the pile cap? So let's just look at that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cambria Street, the vertical discontinuance, your building will be on top of our street. Yes.
So,
yes.
Yes.
So you create a nice little tunnel situation on Cambria Street as someone tries to approach the convention center's loading dock.
Correct.
Right. So how are you going to light the underneath? How are you going to make sure that in case if a car stops underneath, catches fire, your asset doesn't get compromised?
So we do have, we are treating Cambria Street like it's a city street, so we are carrying pole lights down the street. The signaling cooling type lighting. So we are going to have, good lighting for the street itself. There will be some lighting on the building as well. So we don't want that to be a dark place. So we're adding street lights and secondary lights on the building.
Will you fireproof the bottom? You will,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You will, not you, I can't say things like you will, but in consideration to how the turnpike has fireproofing underneath, okay, so you will, it's in your best interest.
Same thing, yes.
Same thing, the fireproofing that we have for underneath for the Mass Turnpike and for the MBTA Railroad will be similar to that underneath the building at Cambria Street.
Exactly.
Other components of the plan you want to walk us through?
Sorry, in the BPDAs, how does this go?
So this is, they're here.
Sorry.
So we'll be taking the parts owned by the city on November 15th.
Okay, so time out. Just, we need to discuss the envelope of the discontinuances before you take it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know whether we, Public Works, can have enough time to review everything. So, Chairman, just make sure that we've done our review before you all take a vote. To be really positive. Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're going to the BPA board on the 15th, but this will not come back to us until December 6th.
Here's the thing, Amy, if they vote.
Yeah, no, we're done. That's when we have to vote as well. Correct.
So if they vote and we don't,
And
then you have to
then
go
the
back and
BPA
undo
just
the
owns
things.
a random amount of space over Cambria Street.
So Janet, it's going to take us more than a couple of weeks, considering time constraints, to sort everything out before November 15th. That much I can say with fair amount of certainty. So if you can orchestrate things so that it is in best interest of these nice people, plus retaining the city's ability, so as not to make things awkward for us.
So we can talk.
Okay.
So the application that's in front of us right now is just vertical discontinuances and earth retention. So you're going to come back later for specific repairs?
I should actually give some clarity on that. Right, we're here just for the discontinuances, the things that the DPDA are going to act on. We've also sent out utility and agency notifications for specific repair and pedestrian easements. We've actually been spending a lot of time with disabilities and the Boston Water and Sewer finalizing the things related to the streetscape, the design. And we anticipate coming back for that on the 15th and presenting that as new business. And then if all goes to plan on the 6th, dealing with everything at once as a public hearing.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, I have brief comments on specific repairs, but I'd like to give them now so they have time to comment. So, I'm excited by this project. I think it's a great project. I personally am a big proponent of any of these air rights projects over the Mass Pike. It's a way to tie neighborhoods together and get rid of holes in the ground, and I like that very much. One concern that I've raised that is in the realm of BPDA and BTD that I would like explored is the treatment of St. Cecilia. So Scotia, St. Cecilia, that area of the city, it's shadowy, it's not activated. This project is I would call this a higher end project. The finishes, the renderings look very beautiful. What we're doing on Boylston Street is exciting. But what are we doing on St. Cecilia Street to activate that street and sort of bring it out of the shadows, I guess? So one thing I'd like to look at is an engineering study on a traffic analysis of St. Cecilia and how it's being used today by the vehicles. And does it need to be, I think, is there a portion of it that's two-way? Does it need to be two-way? What does the data show us? Is it just a cut through to avoid the intersection of Mass Ave and Boylston? Because I think one thing we can do is make the sidewalk larger by reducing the width of the travel lanes to make it more encouraging and pedestrian friendly and activate it a little bit. I think it would be a shame to build this very beautiful project and not have seized the opportunity to make Scotia, St. Cecilia the same level of attractiveness that Boylston and Dalton will enjoy. So I'm just telling you this now so that you have a longer lead time to perform the exercises. You may do an engineering analysis and say, no, we can't reduce the size of St. Cecilia, but we'd like to see the data on that. So I know that's in the realm of BTD, BPDA, but I want to bring it up now so we can take a look at it.
It's also clearly in your interest to figure out how to have Scotia Street, all these things feel like a great part of a great neighborhood.
Thank you. If I might, I just wanted to make sure we pointed out and had an opportunity for you to ask questions about this particular discontinuance area on Cambria Street, which we're proposing as an at-grade area to accommodate some necessary building features. This area on the north side of Cambria Street is an egress stair, which needs to come out to the sidewalk. It cannot, for structural reasons and the trussing we need to do over the air right span, it cannot come out inside the building with a simple exit door. It needs to come out outside.
And this is the wall between Cambria Street and the train tracks right here. So there's no going down.
The area on the southern side, that southern corner of Cambria and St. Cecilia, is this building element here, where the facade angles out. The goal there was also to accommodate some structural needs of the building to support the span above Cambria Street.
And at the same time, improve the public realm. That's this zone right here that you see. The property line is sort of a curve that is sort of offset from the curb line, and so we've sort of chamfered that corner to accommodate a wider pedestrian realm here that can handle these crosswalks coming in from both directions. So it's really, you know, accommodating two things. One is improving the pedestrian realm, and two is trying to deal with a very difficult area of the building where we have these enormous trusses that are spanning Cambria Street. And this is sort of a section showing the slope of that wall in the sort of the pedestrian zone that you're creating there, which is at a 10-foot height, almost 9 feet wide.
And what's the distance between sort of the base of the wall and where it gets to 10 feet of clearance?
In here, you've got about 3 to 4 feet, but it's below 10.
Presumably this would be part of the specific repair plan, but obviously you're going to give some thought to how to have the stairwell on the north side sort of hit the sidewalk and not confuse every pedestrian who's sort of coming down Cambria Street. That's part of the design. Okay.
And I guess a little bit more to Par's point about how is that going to be lit?
Yeah.
So we have lighting on this facade here. This piece gets to glow a little bit, just sort of like a layer of lighting. Yeah. And then you can see here we have the pole. We have the single acorns that are lining both sides of the street, so that we're giving it the same kind of treatment as you would typically give a city street. You see those pole lights show up in here on a regular pattern. These four happen beneath the building, so you are treating it like it's a city street that's just traversing that area. We also have accommodated some bicycle parking here with a wider sidewalk, trying to take them out of other areas where there might be increased pedestrian, and then try to really not treat this as a sidewalk for people to actually have to go down, because it's really no
doesn't
place
go
to
anywhere. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I want to make sure that little angle wall and that alcove isn't an attractive place to maybe escape the elements and take a nap. So I don't know if there's uplighting or something in there that can make it not an attractive place to hide.
Yeah.
Todd? Members of the public? All right, clearly there's a fair amount of work I think that needs to happen between now and December 6th. In particular, the conversations need to happen around the easements associated with the Dalton Street Bridge and our mutual interest in ensuring that that bridge not only can be repaired in the short term, but actually is maintainable in the long term.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, so we'll see you back here for a different new business item in 2 weeks, and then the public hearing for this in 4.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Until then.
Thank you.
Thank you for the visual aids. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next item of new business is 6 and 14 West Broadway, Dorchester Avenue, West 2nd Street, Athens Street, South Boston. Widening and relocation, pedestrian easements, specific repairs on a set of joint petitions by 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone Development LLC.
Good morning. Dominic Rinaldi with the BSC Group, the site engineers and surveyors for the project. Here representing the applicants, 6 West Broadway LLC and CPC Cornerstone LLC. With me today is Nick Ruggieri of Rohde Architects, the architect. Unfortunately, the actual applicant today, he sent me an email, had an emergency. He was hoping to get here. Obviously doesn't look like he did. We're here today with 3 petitions for the commission, widening and relocation, pedestrian easements, and specific repairs. And unless the commission has an objection, I'll just sort of walk through those in that order. So first is, I'll just sort of orient you with the sites and the projects. When you look at the plans in South Boston, we have Dorchester Avenue to the top, West Broadway to the left, and West 2nd Street and Athens Street to the right. The Broadway T station would be sort of where the locust plan is shown on this plan. 6 West Broadway project, which is a hotel project, would be sort of roughly the top half of the plan, and 14 West Broadway, which is a multifamily condominium project, would be the bottom half, running through from West Broadway to Athens Street. The widening relocation consists of an area up in the northern corner of the 6 West Broadway property, where that property actually juts into the intersection of Dorchester and West 2nd. We're proposing to pull that back on a radius that would then bring the entire roadway and sidewalk into the public right-of-way.
This is a cleanup on our request,
Yeah.
so that they stop owning the street.
Yeah, it's a quirky, yeah, it's a quirky, I don't know how the property ended up like that. Moving on to the pedestrian easements, we have 2 easements, one on Dorchester Avenue and one on Athens Street. Dorchester Avenue one is associated with 6 West Broadway and consists of areas to just create wider sidewalk spaces. Sorry.
It's irregular because it represents the change in material from the cement concrete to a paver, and that's why the line is not a straight line.
Is there any other way? I know you are really good at making sure that there's structured uniformity, and 10 years from now we will know what the heck we
prefer
did.
to go out there and know that everything that's cement concrete is ours and everything that's paved is
So
theirs.
this is the outline of the
Yes.
cement concrete?
Yes.
Is there any way you could have, so I'm going to assume there's some other material on the opposite side which we don't like?
Yes.
Right.
So we'd rather this be irregular and visually it be.
I know, but could you construct the visual, the boundary so that it is a little bit more?
I think this will make sense in context with the building, like the paving and is moving with the building.
Do you have an image of what the building will look like and sort of that concrete paver, or that's...
Yeah, too.
If not, we'll bring it to the public hearing so that we can make an informed decision.
Yep. Yeah, to give you some idea, the first level of the building is, so this heavy dark line here is the first level setback foundation and upper levels then actually jet out forward and pretty much follow the property line.
So this is increased space they are going to give us?
Yeah, so this is, so
Correct.
this is going to be the widening of the cement concrete portion of the sidewalk.
Can we live without it? How wide are the sidewalks?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, and especially on Athens Street, which is very, very narrow street.
On Athens, that's
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
It is just stuff on Dorchester.
On Dorchester.
You have a handicap, which
You-
my little point
yeah.
was there, but there's a ramp. Bingo. Where's that ramp? What is that?
They're actually giving us more room behind that ramp.
But why
Yes.
is that ramp there? Is it a ADA where if I
It-
park over there?
It crosses to, yes.
You should,
Sorry.
the BAC, you're very good at this stuff. So if you're showing a ramp on this side, it'll be nice for you to show the geometry.
Yes, and on the specific repairs, which we'll get to, we shrunk down the scale. I can change the scale on these if you want. I just left them that way because they get really, really small. No worries.
We're looking forward to the pedestrian easement plan on the dot outside. What is that resulting sort of concrete pinch point that seems to be somewhat near that pedestrian ramp we were just talking about? Exactly.
Yeah, right there.
What's the width behind the ramp?
Yeah.
The width,
level that is.
the width behind the ramp actually goes out to roughly 7 feet.
Of concrete.
Yes.
So one of the changes that we've asked for is they've increased cement concrete dimension at the ramp.
Right.
That's-
So obviously this is
Kind of-
all being done with your blessing.
Yeah, so we've wrestled them, like this is.
A good middle ground.
Yes.
We started with the same comments that you had and through clarity of what's going on out there, we wanted to.
You are
Yeah,
okay?
yes, yep. Take the weirdness here and have the visual represent what everybody wants it to be.
It'll look good.
Yes.
And then obviously as I was saying, on Athens Street, which is a very narrow street, it's a similar thing where portions of the building are set back enough and the property is there, provide a 5-foot clear walking space. It's only about 3 in the public right-of-way.
At West Second?
No, on Athens.
That's
yeah.
all good, nice.
Yeah.
On Dorchester, you have a,
It's like a driveway.
is it a driveway going into the,
Yeah.
no, further up, keep going, that one. That little thing that's coming off.
Is that a driveway up down Ave?
Porte share.
Porte share?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And you're getting out on
Back on Dot Ave, or do you pull out on the west side?
West Second?
It's on West Second.
West side, okay, got it. So it goes on the-
It would have been trying to visualize your building structure. So this goes underneath your
Correct.
building and pops out on the other side?
Correct.
Is that like a pickup drop-off?
Hotel.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah,
like
front.
check-in, yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's, yeah.
It's what's the functionality of this building?
6, which is the one up here, will be a hotel.
So that's how you would come and
Yes.
circulate to.
No problem.
And where the building overhangs, what's the
Yes.
lighting situation there?
We have the columns that are uplit, as well as probably a few dozen. So it's almost a triple height space that you pull through. And there's lights washing the wall, as well as the columns, as well as downlights in the ceiling. So, and the lobby itself is glass, so there will be light coming from within the building as well.
More light than it has now.
Definitely.
And for reference, if you're looking, these rectangles here, those are the building columns.
Great. So a variety of nice lit spaces.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Have you locked in your hotel partner, or is that private knowledge, or can it be shared? And I'm okay with any answer, just curious.
I don't know. That's actually.
I'm just trying to get a sense of whether it's a chain hotel, whether it's a local one, and the amount of, if it's a chain hotel, there's higher outside taxis. There's a different demand for Ubers and Lyfts and whole kit and caboodle.
Do you?
So, if you don't know, it's okay. I mean, just
You walk us through the widening relocation and the easements. Can you walk us through the specific repairs?
Yes. So the specific repairs encompass both projects. basically wrapping new sidewalk and curbing around, starting at 14 West Broadway and West Broadway, all the way around Dorchester and that portion of West 2nd and Athens. This also does include, as part of the Article 80 mitigation, sort of a realignment of that very end of Athens Street. The curbing, as I'm sure you know, right now it comes in at a very, very severe angle. So that would be squared up with new sidewalks and curbs. We are also maintaining one street tree on West Broadway and installing 3 or 4 new ones. The driveways, as you mentioned, both for the hotel and the condominium building. A new accessible curb cut across Dorchester Avenue to the traffic island. We're going to be fixing the actual curb cut on the traffic island as well as part of that. And realigning the crosswalk across West Broadway, squaring that up, right? Previously it went from corner to corner at a very long, sharp, slow angle, squaring that up.
As part of that change in the stop line on
Yes, yeah, the stop line will slide back accordingly.
So that crosswalk today, is it controlled by a stop in a walk line?
It is, and the
So are you
pedestrian
moving-
signal will be moved down to the new location.
And the realignment of the crosswalk has had the blessings of the engineering section of the transportation department.
It was actually in the 6 West Broadway had a TAPA agreement, so that was part of it.
My only concern is, I know you are doing this thing to improve safety, but people have a rather interesting way of walking. They are not going to go like this and go up, and we are trying to improve pedestrian safety. So as long as this has been done with the concurrence of those who are responsible for ensuring pedestrian safety, I have nothing further to say. Just have a concern about us taking parts of travel away and not managing the safety appropriately.
Correct. Yep, as I said, it was part of the TAPA for 6.
Other things you want to point out on this repair plan?
Sorry.
Anything else you want to point out?
Trying to remember. I think that's about it. We're maintaining the existing street lighting. They're that area has the somewhat decorative street lights. They will stay in place.
Not trying to labor the point. On West Broadway, when you are approaching the intersection of West Broadway and Dorchester, just have your traffic engineers assess the situation and see whether there's a no right turn on red.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. Because the pedestrian who is trying to cross there on either one of those, who is going to cross at the new crosswalk, they are not going to be able to see the car, or when the car makes a right turn, they are not going to see the pedestrians.
Yep.
Okay? So there's going to be a disconnect. And putting that no right turn on red may complicate the operational efficiency of the traffic signal. So these are the little dangling participles that you need to assess.
Yep.
Other questions or comments on this? Amir Todd? Members of the public? All right. See you guys in 2 weeks. Does that work?
Perfect.
All right. See you on November 15th.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is 71-95 Guest Street, Life Street, Brighton, vertical discontinuances on a petition by Rail Yard Sports LLC.
Good morning. My name is Pat Conley. I'm with Beals Associates. So this is for the sports complex in Boston Landing. So just to orient you, we have Guest Street cutting through here, and then Life Street here. And those are the two streets that we're looking for continuances on.
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Yeah.
This is a large project. Could you, Amy? Sorry, Amy. Is this isolated project or it is part of the large Brighton Landings
So
project?
this is a part of the Boston
lot.
Landing. This is just building element encroachments into the street that they previously.
So whatever they are proposing is being done in the vocabulary
Correct.
and the
We've
context
totally
of.
done everything on Life Street and Guest Street. This is just building encroachments.
So basically, we're asking for discontinuance above grade on Guest Street and below grade on Guest Street, and then above grade on Life Street and below grade on Life Street. So starting with above grade on Guest Street, this is for the building. It comes over, we're asking for 9.5 feet out up to elevation 118.5, and then there's a overhang on top of the building, decorative overhang. So that will come out another 6 feet, so it would be 15.5 feet total. There is, at the lowest point on the east side, it's 11 feet, discontinuous area is 11 feet above the sidewalk.
Somehow something must have been lost in the translation because we have a 10-foot minimum sidewalk clearances. You had 9.5. I'm not going to.
It's 9.5 out.
And towards horizontal.
I did the same thing earlier this morning. That's why I know.
Long hair.
Dock my
I did the exact same thing earlier.
You guys will show us more problem.
Okay, so then moving to below Guest Street, this is for the pressure injected footings for the building. They'll be about 5 feet below grade. We're asking for 3 feet horizontal and go down to an elevation of -3. And this is for the length of the building on Guest Street.
Amy, again, Amy from BPDA, the urban design vision for Guest Street, because Guest Street is going through a metamorphosis. Again, to reflect the comments which Mike Nelson has mentioned prior today, there's a consistent vocabulary which is being followed through.
Yep, we're actually following this up with Elizabeth Stifel right now. We're going through all this, but this is, yes, we have an okay from them to go ahead.
To support this.
Okay, and then moving to Life Street, it's just asking for 2 small discontinuances for signs. The larger sign will say New Balance track. And
sorry, sir?
For signage.
Signage.
Yep.
No lighting or anything, just a static sign?
Yes. Yep. One says New Balance track, the other one is parking, and that's the entrance. And then below grade on Life Street, also for pressure injected footings. In order to minimize the area of discontinuance, they're kind of staggered in elevations. The elevation goes down as you go on Life Street towards Guest Street. It's the same consistency. It's 5 feet below grade is going to be discontinued. And they're all down to an elevation -3, but we just staggered it so instead of doing a straight line, straight elevation.
Amy, we have fee ownership.
Yes.
So this is going through, and they know that, and obviously all of that stuff. Meaning they know that this is going through City Council and there's a value for the discontinuances.
So we're not charging them because they just gave us these streets and we just didn't know where the buildings were going to land. So this is like,
consistent
they
with
played
our
it out of
policies.
street and we're letting them have their
Consistent
buildings.
with our
Yeah,
policies.
yeah,
Okay.
Other questions or comments on this? Peter, Todd? Members of the public? Pat, see you back here in 2 weeks. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, till November 15th. Our next item is 173 Endicott Street, North Margin Street, Boston proper. Vertical discontinuances on a petition by 173 Endicott LLC.
Amy, while you are giving all our streets, all vertical discontinuances, is that a safe? This is in
the architect is Rogers Valley.
Architect is in the cafe. Be right back.
All right, thank you.
Excited to move this one from one pile to the next.
anticipating the questions of fee ownership.
For the conversion, is that? So it'll get appraised.
We can take things in on the, we can go to the next one.
No, I mean, we can probably start, it's relatively straightforward.
All right. Hello, good morning. Peter Vanko, architect.
Joe DeGangi, project developer.
George Collins, surveyor.
You guys walk us through the project in that way?
Yeah, we're planning 3 vertical discontinuances above the sidewalk. All are above 10 feet above the sidewalk. And all the water from the drip edge will all be drained internally into the drainage system of the building inside, so we won't have any runoff onto the sidewalk above the 3 areas. So we have this area, and this area, and here's the elevations of the 3 areas. We have 1, 2, and 3.
So, if you could, in as few words as possible, just give us an overview of your project. This is a new construction, rehabilitation of existing building, how many units?
This
if you
is
have
a-
that information, that will be great.
Okay. The architect can tell you, this is new, the architect can tell you about the building better than I can.
Sure, yes, it's 4 new units, completely new construction.
Is it a vacant property?
It's vacant property, is currently 100% impervious parking lot.
Are you in the site plan process with PWSC? You have an approved site plan, or are you still in
Yes.
process?
Yeah.
You have an approved site?
We have an approved site plan.
And they're basically all at just a shade over 10 feet.
Yes. Correct, and we've undergone G-Cod, we're done with that process and approved.
Yes, it was an as-of-right project. It was a conditional use just for the G-Cod.
Okay, yeah, I just was wondering what the status of the site plan was.
Sure.
And the section C discontinuance seems to extend roughly sort of 2/3 across the sidewalk, is that right? The upper left one?
The upper left will be about 2/3 above the sidewalk, and then the other 2 about halfway, and then about 20% on the one on Endicott.
Is that, do we have a?
2/3 is our cutoff.
Are there, specific repairs associated with this as well, or is it just vertical discontinuance?
No, just nothing with the sidewalk, just vertical discontinuance.
So the exit for the parking lot will be the same as the exit for the property?
Just in curb
Is that
cut.
right? And there'll be no improvements to the actual?
Yes, it's a huge parking lot right now for about 10 cars.
But you'll reconstruct the sidewalk,
That's-
post construction and all those sort of things, is that right?
Yeah, yes. We've already paid for the sidewalk deposit.
Yeah, you don't need a specific,
They need to
repair,
put
we're
things
just
back nicely.
Yeah, replacing the entire.
Okay. Other questions on the vertical discontinuance?
We'll need an appraisal prior to the vote.
Commission that.
You'll be able to get that within 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right. We'll see you guys on November 15th. Does that work for you? 2 weeks?
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item of new business is Summer Street, South Boston, the grant of location on a petition by Eversource Energy.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kristen Trudell. I'm a project manager for EnerSource Energy.
I'm Mike Bernetsky, Assistant Project Manager for EverSource Energy.
We're here today to petition for a grant of location for a new transmission line on an approximate 500-foot section of Summer Street. This is a section of a larger project, which is about a 4.2-mile transmission line that starts at our K Street substation in South Boston and goes down Powerhouse Street, which is a private street, and then north on Summer Street, and then on to Massport's Conley Terminal property. We transverse their entire property to the east side of the property, and then the cable will then cross Boston Harbor to Deer Island. This new cable is being constructed to replace the existing cable that has to be removed for the U.S. Army Corps' harbor deepening project, and also Massport's construction of their new berths for container ships. So we are in this about 500-foot section of Summer Street. For us, it's a typical duct bank construction for conduits, for the power cable, and then for conduits for grounding and for some communication fiber that controls the transmission line between the two substations. And that's really the project in a nutshell.
And I see you got approval already from Massport for kind of the next stretch of this?
Correct. So we actually are in construction with Massport. We have an MOU and easement agreement with them, as well as the owners of Powerhouse Street.
I'm sorry, did I miss, what's the method of construction?
It's open cut construction, so typical cut pavement, excavate, and then install the conduits and backfill with thermal concrete, and then patch pave at the end, and then finally curb-to-curb paving when we're 100% done.
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
Okay.
Look at that, great.
Yes.
What is the, on the plans, this kind of diamond-shaped pattern, what does that represent?
So that represents this area here.
We have vertical conflict?
Yeah. Utility congestion in the street, we're forced to go into a horizontal configuration with
What is the conflict? It looks like it's either water or drain.
It's, I believe it's, let me see, I think it's Boston Water and Sewer.
Yeah, it's us, right?
Yeah. We've gone through Boston Water and Sewer.
With
and
utility plans?
Yes, and they've signed off and stamped our plans.
Okay.
As well as we've actually gone to Boston Traffic Department, and we've submitted our traffic management plan. Yeah, Ed Hesford has reviewed it, and he said it's okay. Though we are going to do this work at night, it's going to be night work because we are aware that it is a kind of a commuter area, and there's also buses, but we are not in front of any bus stops. But we will be doing this work over night shift.
And will it really be curved like that?
Yes.
All right, just don't encroach on the water mains.
No.
Okay.
So now there's going to be challenged crossing that Summer Street to get to the
Yes,
side.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit concerned, because Massport built that new truck road, right, coming right through, and you're going to tear that area up, yes?
Yeah, so
right in that corner.
we meet with Massport on this project in their Conley Terminal operations management on a weekly basis. And so we're coordinating our construction on that entrance with them. Again, when we get there, it's most likely going to be weekend work and
For how
night
long?
work.
How many weekends?
So the
program?
the section in Summer Street, we're predicting like 3 weeks, and the on-ramp onto the bridge, right now, it's probably a month of night work.
Do we know what Are you planning to do this in 3 months' time, 6 months from now, or tomorrow once you get?
Basically, as soon as we get all the permits and permissions to do this, this new line has to be energized and installed before Army Corps can do a lot of their work and Massport can complete their berth. So the overall project, we're planning on energizing by the end of 2019. And the land portion has to be done by February of 2019 to meet that target.
So November 15th, you're gonna start.
Basically.
No, but you will read the moratorium and, you know.
You guys will have to work with us for when we actually.
Okay,
Exactly,
so
we'll
you
be.
will obviously conform to all of that, and then the road restoration will be done summer.
In the spring or summer, yeah.
This is sort of related to that. The dredging project has been long discussed and sort of long planned. Why are we sort of now under the gun for moving this when that has been presumably a known conflict between your power line and the dredging project?
Yeah, so it's been a long road to coming up with a new cable. The first go around, we were actually going to, we did a lot of survey work in the harbor to actually identify the actual depth, the burial depth of that cable. And after we did that, we went through a process of conceptualizing like a matting protection of the cable, and through a lot of engineering and discussion with the Corps and Massport that was not the best long-term solution. So this is the best long-term solution to get the cable out of the reserve channel, so it does not encumber the Army Corps or Massport for future deepening, because it's guaranteed that this port will go through another round of deepening.
Are you from the Westwood office of Eversource?
I am, yes.
We have multiple projects with you where it seems like things sort of remain until the last moment and it gets challenged. Maybe you need to hire more staff. No, I'm just letting you, I'm being a little bit serious. Sometimes it becomes a bit of an awkward situation for us, but I'll just keep it at that.
Any other questions or comments?
How do we all reflect the fact that they will need to do curb-to-curb paving?
Well, we can write it right in the order.
We're on the plan.
Yeah.
Is 2 weeks enough time? See you guys on November 15th. Does that work? All right. See you back here in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Our final item of new business is 950-958 Tremont Street, Boston proper, a sidewalk cafe license on a petition by Tremont 958 Restaurant Corporation.
Good morning.
You want to tell us a little bit about the project, and then we can walk you through
I'll start. George Collins.
I'm Daryl Settles. I'm the owner.
We're proposing 2 sidewalk cafes. One is solely on private property, and the other one is on Tremont Street. The one on Tremont Street we're seeking to get relief for today consists of 28 seats, 2 of which are handicapped. The main entrance to the restaurant is right here, so we would be walking through the middle of the cafe to the entrance. They'd come in, and then we'd be seated this way by the 36-inch accessible route. We have 7.5 feet minimum to where the sidewalk turns into brick pavers. So that's our handicap access for the current sidewalk. It's a very wide sidewalk, but we're showing the 7.5 because that's between concrete and brick pavers there. So it seems like plenty of room to get by for pedestrians walking in that area.
This is Slade's Bar and Grill.
Yes.
Got it.
Awesome place.
Was that?
Awesome place.
Oh, thank you.
Time. Thank you.
This is going to be our largest sidewalk cafe by seats.
Excuse me?
Yeah, it might be.
This would be our largest sidewalk cafe, or one of the largest sidewalk cafes in the city.
Well, the sidewalk is huge.
It's huge. No, totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the largest sidewalk in the south end, I believe.
Yeah.
It's looks like an appropriate place for a sidewalk. I
It
guess
is a
we're
very-
approving sidewalk. It's
23
weird.
feet. What's with the bollards in the sidewalk there? Do we have a problem because it is so big, people were using it as a street? People driving cars on it? I'm looking at
That
the
was
street
done
right now.
before my time.
They're still there?
Yeah, they're still there.
Just asking.
And so-
I'm looking at the street.
And so the resulting sidewalk is still 7.5, 8 feet.
Right, we have plenty of room.
And the seating on the Hammond Street side, that is all part of your property already?
That's correct. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
This would be a good addition. I like it.
Maybe you're done?
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.